I'm going to turn it over to her, turn it over to who she wants to.
Well, no, I mean, obviously, the committees, we met for how many weeks, months?
We had 4 meetings.
We had 4 meetings, but they were 3 or 4 weeks apart. And some really great input. I see one of our committee members sitting back there. And really honest, thoughtful, constructive work done by people on the committee. We had architects, we had developers, it was, and realtors. I thought it was a really good process. And the good news is, I think the professionals who are going to do a presentation for us really were able to translate kind of what the gist of what the consensus was of the working group and turn it into something I think is simpler, it's more straightforward, it's more understandable. I think it kind of lessens a little bit of the regulations. And we're starting to get rid of things that contradict other parts of our code. And so that was kind of one of the other goals as we went through there. So they really did do a good job. And you can...
We're having some technical difficulties. I'm going to run back there and see if we can't get this pulled up on this big screen.
I think, is he coming out to help you?
No, that's Mr. Hawkins.
Well, or I could happily just pass around.
Well, I can walk around with Tara's laptop. No, everything that Shelley said is absolutely true. Tara has done this presentation a couple of times now to HCC and to, not HCC so much, but the Planning Commission and the public hearing that we had. Devin, we're having trouble. Yeah.
And I think she'll probably reference it in the presentation. This is only the first step. There's lots more fun on my horizon with this committee. That's why I was told Barbara, thank you very much for thinking of me.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is just the first step in rewriting the entire zoning code. This is what we call Article 10, which is the design standards for commercial development. We're changing up some of the that's okay. Do what you got to do. We're changing up some of the things that we use, as far as materials and the percentages of those that we're going to make them in here too. But I'm going to give it to Tara, and hopefully we'll get this up on the screen soon. Or I can just sit up here and improvise until that time. You want me to tell a joke?
Sure.
Well, and I think while they're working on that, if you guys want to see a copy of, because what's really nice about the kind of this final version that we've had, you could see what changed and what it changed to, and what things. So if anybody wants a copy, we can certainly get you one, and you can look through it if you have anything in particular that you're interested in. So.
Yes, and so I know we've emailed copies. There's also posted online. It was on Facebook, so we've had a public input meeting. We had the advisory committee meetings. Okay. Oh, but you're going to control from back there? Okay. Do I need to, make a... next slide. Next slide. Okay.
That's too funny.
All right. Well, here we go. So we've had the advisory committee meetings, and then earlier this month we had a public input meeting that was also advertised on Facebook. We put a notice out on the city's website. So during the public input meeting, we had members of the advisory committee, the planning commission, city council, as well as we did have a member from the public who showed up. Oh, there we go. We'll stop there. And in that advisory committee, we went over, we got a lot of insight from people in the real estate, developers, project applicants and proponents in the community. So just a real quick overview of development regulations. So what we are looking at right now in this piece of the puzzle for the overhaul of the zoning code and the subdivision ordinance is we're starting with Article 10. the development regulations, and that is because this is what is referred to as our squeaky wheel. It's something that we deal with every single day as planners. It's something that developers, in the community are constantly working with us on. And we found that since it has not been updated in the last 20 years, we've not necessarily kept up with building trends throughout the United States and building needs. And as a result, it's become imperative to look at maybe some adjustments that we can do for our zoning code. And then so there's multiple aspects of this. I'm highlighting the material ones, and I'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. But this only applies to commercial development, not single-family homes. That's why I have the X through that. So not single-family homes and not duplex development. So right now, what we have is, for commercial development, the material requirement is that a structure has 50% masonry, and of that 50%, the majority needs to be brick or brick-like units, and no greater than 20% metal siding, and that's essentially it. That's what we allow for the material percentages on structures in commercial development. And so what we're looking at right now is to find some more flexibility. So then we also, right now, we have the parking spaces. Our parking requirements are based on square footage and use. Some other items that we needed to look at was we have discrepancies throughout the code, or unenforceable language, nebulous language, things that are just beautiful ideas, but in a pragmatic setting as a planner, we can't really enforce them. So we really just tried to kind of parse this down and make things very simple and easy to understand as well as enforce. Now, I keep bringing up Article 10 because that's where the development regulations live. However, in adjusting Article 10, we've also needed to make some adjustments to a few other articles that are integrated into the development review process. So that's Article 3. And in that, we have adjusted lot coverage and building coverage being where the building sit, how much the building occupies, and lot coverage is impervious surface. So that includes the driveways, sidewalks. And now previously it was just 80% for commercial development. Now it's more specific to each individual zoning designation. And then Article 4 was our parking chapter in the code. And there was a lot of confusion between what in Article 4 applies to the commercial development and where do we just look at Article 10 for commercial. And now the parking and circulation is in one chapter. And we've flipped it and we put the parking and access into Article 9. So it's right before Article 10, just easier to access as a developer, easier on us as planners to go back and forth as we're reviewing site plans for commercial development. And then Article 10 is our materials, landscaping, and application procedures and processes. So one of the big ticket items here is the materials. And as I mentioned, we, at this point in time, essentially have brick and metal, and not very much of that metal. And right now, what we are proposing, and this is based upon, as we said, the advisory committee. I know that the previous long-range planner also presented to City Council a study that was done looking at cities throughout the United States and the different types of material usage in these cities, and are also with our consultant. So our consultant, he works throughout the Southeast, and this is primarily based off of the Olathe, Kansas. This is what they're doing there, and it's a class categorization of materials where you have 4 different classes, and then you are looking at facades. So you have your 3 facades, you have your primary, secondary, and rear facade, and of those facades, you need to have a specific number of each class. For example, on a primary facade, the primary facade being the one that faces the major street frontage, has access by pedestrians or by those who are customers. That one would need to have 50% of a class 1 material, and then 20% of a class 2 material, and let's go to the next slide. Okay. And then at least 30% of class 3 and 4. So this is how they are laid out, the class 1 through 4. These are the different types. Masonry is still a major component of this as a class 1 material, but it's like breaks it down. This will make it easier for planners to understand the different types of masonry and which one is the higher quality. And then we also have metal. There will now be an allowance for having class 1 as a, or metal as a class 1 material. And I'm going to look at my notes real quick here. And go to the next slide. And at this point in time, does anyone want to stop me?
Yeah, I got a
Yes.
question. I'm gonna need the council's help on this. At a building not too long ago, I went,
Ethos.
is that?
Yes. So at this point in time, and this was based upon the advisory committee, they voted to have EPIS as a class 4 material. And so, and it would also not, it would only be allowed, I believe, 8 feet above the ground level. So it's allowed, but only as an accent material. So previously, the code does not mention EPIS. We just look at, well, it's not the masonry, right? But now we've actually like called it out.
Old time name, but
Well, I think one of the main points from the committee was, and we especially got it from, I think, the architects, who were like, there is new stuff all the time, and it's good quality stuff. And so by categorizing things like this, you still protect what the intent was, is you don't want the front of the building to start looking really junky, right? But it allows us to kind of evolve and keep up with the times and what would look new and cool and different.
because 20 years is a long.
And then, so, right, at this point in time, we have the exception process. And so I know everyone here has seen those exception notifications from Ann. So one of the reasons why this also came up is we were seeing a lot of requests for those exceptions for materials from developers who are expressing that this is a higher quality material. And with this, we will actually have a table to reference. We will need to see evidence. You know, if something is not specifically called out on this table, this update does have a clause that says that a case can be made. You know, when new materials come out, we don't need to come back here every single time and update this table, but there is some discretionary review by the administrative official. Just based also, we will need, like I said, need to see some specs, right? We're not gonna just take them exactly at their word. We'll do our research, but this does allow a lot more flexibility and to be able to work with the times and the changes. And then I just wanted to point out with that, the EPIS. So for example, EPIS as a class 4 material would be on a primary facade up to 10%, and it could not be on the ground level.
Tara, can I interrupt you there for a second?
Yes.
Am I remembering, and somebody, was that EPIS consideration, was that for the storage facility out on Hogan?
For the hotel, Maylee's Hotel.
Well, it's out of.
Yeah, it was a Marriott brand, I believe, and that was sort of their brand look.
So would this have,
No.
I mean, it still would have been permissible under this because it's way over 10%, right?
Right,
Okay.
right. So we wouldn't have been able to approve it, and I mean, they always have the option to appeal to the council, so.
Where did that 10% number come from? Why, is that seems a fairly arbitrary number to me.
Well, all class 4 materials are 10%, everything that's in the class 4. And after a lot of discussion between all the people who do all the building and all that kind of stuff, it was recommended to us to put that in class 4 because it's just not very durable over the long term. So we decided also to keep it on a 2nd story level because it's just not very thick.
Yeah,
It's easily, you can put a hole in it fairly easily.
But it can be. That needs to be noted.
Well, and everything that
Can
we
be
had, all the information that we had available to us.
I don't want to argue.
Yeah,
about it.
I'm
I mean,
just-
that's not what question.
But I think
But-
one thing Tara referenced is that if a developer comes and says, here are the specs, whether it's EFS or anything, and it's really this material meets category 1, then they can approve it.
Right,
it
so,
doesn't- yeah,
so let's say EFS has got some sort of masonry, something behind it,
Okay.
then they can probably make a case.
Okay. Like I say, I didn't want to argue that point. I just,
And I'm happy to ask this now or later, but Mr. Salter, I see you out there. I know you were on this committee and that you have had some developmental difficulties maybe with projects in the past. I'd love to hear your opinion on this at some point, just having been on that committee.
Do we have any other questions on this table right now, or? Next slide.
Tara, one more really small, easy
Yeah.
question. And you do feel this simplifies this? Even though the table looks complicated, you think it simplifies review and y'all's process?
I think it will simplify the interaction between the applicants and the planning department, because we will now no longer be looking at things from an exception perspective. I think it'll create a very equal playing field where you may not need to see things such as planned unit developments, like the Malleys was a planned unit development. When people have specific design standards based upon materials, they won't necessarily have to get like different types of zoning classifications. You won't necessarily have to see things as much in the conditional use permits. So in that sense, I do think it will simplify the process, because we'll now have something that provides that flexibility that people are requesting.
So I think what I heard you say is it allows for less exception and more bakes the opportunity for different substrates into the natural process without having to pursue PUD or conditional use permits.
Correct.
Thank you.
So this is just, I like this example. This will be embedded within the zoning code for a visual reference point, showing, this is something we in part already have in the zoning code, which is that you have to have a level of articulation. You can't have blank walls. We haven't changed that. It's for the same amount of frontage. And so this is just showing you're going to need the changes to the roof line, the changes of materials. I forgot to mention this, with the primary and the secondary facades, you need to have that class 1 material, but you also need to have glass. So it's ensuring that we have windows on the first floor of structures. So if there's no other questions about materials, facade articulation, and then the primary, secondary, and rear facades, I'll get into parking. This is, as I mentioned, we've combined the different parts of our code that had parking scattered throughout, and we put it into what is now Article 9. And I think one of the things that we need to highlight in this adjustment is that instead of having parking minimums and maximums, we will use the table that we currently have that is prescriptive at this point in time. It is a prescriptive, this is based upon your use and your square footage, this many parking spots. Now people can look at that as a reference point, and if they can make a case based upon their business, the development, similar development types, whether to have less or more parking. This is another exception that I know the council has seen a lot, which is certain businesses, certain restaurants especially, may need a lot more parking than the code currently allows for, so that they would no longer do the exception process. They would need to make a case. So if you have a national chain, they would be showing us their parking spots and how they are occupied in other regions of the country. And then likewise, if someone has a smaller restaurant, maybe closer to downtown, that isn't in the C1, because the C1 doesn't have parking minimums, but it's downtown adjacent, it's a small business, and it's really more of a pickup window type, and they're really pressed for space, then they can make that case to us that we really don't need to have the amount of parking that you're required, and it may in some instances be an undue burden. And then what'll kind of keep in mind that we always will require drainage calculations. Like if somebody does go over on the parking, that is that's the baseline on the table, they'll always need to make sure that they have appropriate drainage. So you're not gonna see a site that is completely a parking lot and a structure. They will always have to have detention. They're gonna have to account for stormwater runoff. The circulation aspect, that also is embedded in the parking, and that did not change very much. Sorry, I don't have my notes right next to it, so I have to kind of. Oh, okay. The major change that we did do to circulation was right now, currently, we have just a one-size-fits-all for driveways along for commercial development, how far they are between each other, and now it's going to be separated between major arterials and then minor arterials and collectors. So that's one of the major changes, but we'll still have cross access, joint access. That did not change. Any questions on circulation or parking before I move on?
Parking real quick.
Yeah.
And all that sounds fine, what you're talking about. Did y'all change anything about the green space requirements in parking lots?
No,
Okay,
we did not.
okay, very good, thank you.
So this goes into what you've just asked, that the landscaping stayed pretty much the same. We think we've been doing a really good job with landscaping. We haven't had, that's not something that we actually see a whole lot of exceptions for. And usually if we do see exceptions, it's for things that are very site specific, and that's not necessarily something we could have changed in this code. So I do anticipate that we'll still see that necessary. And when I say site specific, like topography, you might look at something flat on a map and say, you need all of these trees right here. But then when you take into topography, that's really, you can't get the one tree every 30 feet. So that's one of the major not one of the major adjustments. That's just something that I anticipate will continue to be very effective in Conway, and then we'll still need to look at it site by site. Okay, and then these are just some other cleanup changes that we did. The I3 intensive industrial standards, this doesn't come up very much because we don't have as many site development reviews for this portion. And then those, they're very specific standards, and they would only apply to along interstate, minor arterial, and major arterial. If you're on a collector, you're gonna have to still adhere to the regular portion of the development review regulations. We removed the mixed use projects and structures because it was rather superfluous. For one thing, it's not really referenced a lot, and oftentimes mixed-use projects are actually PUDs that have their own specific criteria. The big box retail developments, something that wasn't referenced very often, and then the changes to fuel service stations and car washes, we really just started to focus on canopy height and site design, and removed the regional scale development. So this is just cleaning up the code, making it a little bit more simple, losing some of that like extra verbiage that everyone just kind of glances over, but really only we're really referencing the parking and the materials. And this just kind of will help us cover more development with like a single reference point. Okay. So the process, aside from the material and the parking, this is one of the major changes to highlight, is at the current time we have just one level of what requires site development review. It's contradictory because it'll say anything that requires a building permit, but then it also says if you have a CUP, you need to go through site development review. Well, if you have a CUP, you already have conditions. And just because you have a CUP doesn't necessarily mean you need a building permit. So you don't necessarily need, it conflicts with itself. Planners will sit around and spend a lot of time saying, does this need site development review or not? How much site development review, right? Do we apply all of the requirements to these minor additions, or do we need to just be more logical? With this update, we now have the tools at our disposal to know exactly what to require. of applicants for different types of development. So small scale is when you are doing a main building that is 1,000 square feet or less, or half an acre of site disturbance, and then or you're doing an addition of 750 square feet and half an acre of site disturbance. Large scale, everything else. So with small scale, people will not need to do the stormwater or the lighting. And then large scale, we have the scope of compliance. So this is a scope of compliance, and it's just showing what you're going to need to, what we will require for different types of development. So as you can see, new construction, you will need to meet all of that criteria that I have just gone over. And then something that is just an expansion up to 30% of the existing building. One of the things to, oh, hello. You're good. Okay. And then, so sidewalks would not be required. And then, if I can go back to the previous slide. Okay. We are coming into compliance with the legislator now requires that there is third-party review, so we now have that as an aspect of the code. So you'll either have, you can choose to just have planning staff review the code or review your project, or you can go and have a third party review it. Keep in mind that even if a third party does the review, the planning staff will still have to check their work. And then we've changed the minor and major waivers. Before it was known as exceptions. Now it'll be minor and major waivers. Minor waivers, 20% adjustment or one waiver to a numerical aspect of the code. The major waivers are 20% or more than 20% or multiple waivers. Minor is reviewed and approved administratively. The major ones are preliminarily approved by the admin, by the planning director, and then she reports to council. And then council, if there's any objection, can request that it actually be heard at a city council meeting. And then our fees have been adjusted from being based upon lot coverage to now just being acreage. And I was told I have to wrap up, so if there's any questions. Oh, I can go, if you want, I can also go into the next steps, real quick. Okay, so after this, we've already presented to Planning Commission what I did right here, and then based upon any sort of feedback, if we need to make any changes, any adjustments, then that'll be done. And we will then go and present to Planning Commission for them to make a recommendation for adoption to City Council, and then I will be back with that as an actual request for an amendment to the zoning code.
I mean, thanks for the work. I know it's been a lot, and I was able to attend a couple of y'all's meetings and appreciate the work the committee's done there. Same question, I feel like part of the goal with all of this was to simplify from the beginning. I understand that zoning code is inherently complicated and there's no way to make it all easy. I want to feel good about you guys feeling like this makes things more clear or less complicated. And if
Yes.
it doesn't, we gotta do something different.
No, this makes it much more clear, much more straightforward. Now we have tables instead of long language with lots of shoulds and encouraged.
Yep.
So this, having tables, having percentages, knowing you need to have a primary, secondary, and rear facade, that makes it a lot easier and will lead to a lot less, well, how do we interpret this? How did they do it before? Well, maybe we need to do it like this now. I think this will make it a lot easier on us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Salter, any feelings? Do you mind for our friends online to hop up here real quick? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to manage the meeting. I just know I'm going to get a text.
And I was not expecting to speak on this item, but no. I obviously use this guide that exists today a lot. You can tell completely that it was created 20 years ago and has just been plucked onto over time. And it is cumbersome and it is hard to follow. And I have a pretty good idea of what I'm doing to navigate this process. So I think what we've done is the people who are going to see the biggest benefit is the new guy who walks in here, who, when you hand them what it is today, their head spins and they have probably some inkling to just walk away. I think this is going to help initiate a proper conversation on what it's going to take to get something done. It simplifies it. It brings it into today's architectural world. It will allow architects to have more freedom to be creative, but it also gives the planning department more authority and more power than they have today to take into context the project and use their mind for what's going to be right for the overarching goal of what this article is trying to accomplish. So yes, I think it is a huge step in the right direction. I think it has taken us 20 years to redo this. I would challenge all of you to actually read it because it is going to make a huge impact on our city and the way in which new projects will be able to come to fruition. So I think this is a massive deal for Conway, and I'm glad that you guys are spearheading even the idea of looking at redoing it. So I think it'll be good.
Very glad I asked that question because of that answer. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah,
Good
you're
job.
welcome.
Great job, Tara. Thank you.
Thanks, Tara.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And thank you all for your work.
Everybody. I need a break, council, before we just start in. Good evening, everyone. We proceed each council meeting with a word of prayer and pledge of allegiance. If you would like, please feel free to join us. Sheila, can I get you to word
Sure.
of prayer?
You'll bow with me. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the abundant blessings that you've given us. We just thank you, Lord, for this city that you have graciously blessed us with. We just ask, Lord, that everything that we do, that you get the glory and the honor that you are so deserving of. And we ask this in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now call this meeting to order. Ms. Hurd, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Hawkins?
Here.
Mr. Grimes?
Here.
Mr. Spurgers?
Here.
Ms. Mill?
Here.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Here.
Mr. Hawks?
Here.
Jones?
All right, you should have received copies of the September 9th, 2025 City Council minutes. Any corrections, changes, or comments?
Make a motion for approval as submitted.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the September 9th City Council minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 8-0. I think next we have our monthly financials. Mr. Winningham.
Good evening, council.
Evening.
We went over sales tax on Saturday, so I won't hit you with those numbers again, but I will parlay that into August was the third consecutive month this year that we showed positive growth over last year. So September the 8th, the mayor lifted our spending freeze. So August will be the last month that you see expenditures with the spending freeze in place. Now, August is 2/3 of the way through the year. And if you look at the far right column, we've spent 2/3 of the budget, even with the spending freeze in place. That's what happens when most of your expense is payroll. It's an unavoidable expense. But you can go down through there and pick out a few departments that were noticeably under that 67% mark: physical plant, information technology, permits and inspections, animal welfare, parks. So it certainly helped. Expenses were analyzed very, very carefully up until the beginning of September, and we did our very, very best to try to keep that number as low as possible, facing the challenges that we were aware of. So looking for more positive growth through the end of the year. Hopefully that's what we'll see. That's all I've got, Mayor.
Any questions, Mr. Winningham?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the August 31st monthly financials.
Second?
Have a motion, a second, to approve the August 31st monthly financials. Any further discussion or comments?
Cunningham, would like to set an appointment to come by and talk about the airport.
Okay.
For convenience. Get in my head.
Ms. Hurd.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Passes 8-0. Thank you, Mr. Winningham. All right, let's see here. Next up, we have the Community Development Committee. Mr. Hawkins, before I turn this over to you, I'd like to acknowledge Wyatt for the outstanding job that he and his staff are doing at the Conway Tennis Center. I think Felicia and Shawana will tell you that we've received a number of calls about the programming out there and the work that's being done at the center. And we certainly want to appreciate that. So you guys out there that are doing a great job at the Conway Tennis Center, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. Hawkins, it's all you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item is consideration to approve waiving the readings for the ordinances on tonight's agenda. They are 3 in total. Number A1, A4, and B1 all have ordinances to be read, and I'm asking for waiving of the 3 readings.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion, a second, to approve the waiving of 3 readings for tonight's meeting. Any further discussion? Ms. Hurd.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Passes 8-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Second item, Mr. Mayor, is an ordinance appropriating funding for the Culture in the Park event, which is held by the Diversity Advisory Council. We have an ordinance to be read for this item. It's ordinance 02573.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Shawana?
Hey. We are really excited. This is the 3rd annual Culture in the Park that will be held on this Saturday from 12 to 4 in MLK Square Park. We are excited about this event that we get an opportunity to engage with our community. There's free food. We have an opportunity for music. There's arts. There's games. Just a way for our community to be bound together. I would like to give a kudos to one of our board members, Ms. Jacqueline Galt. She has been a rock star in sponsorships for this event, and we would like to say thank you to all of our sponsors as well, but we are looking forward to it, and we would like to appropriate this donation funding for Culture in the Park.
You're confused me. You're going to have to call her Jackie. I'm not used to hearing her
Well,
called Jacqueline.
I'll make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance 02573.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance appropriating funds for Culture in the Park, which is this Saturday at MLK Square. Any further discussion?
And just clarifying, Shawana, you said 100% of this was donated. We're just appropriating.
Correct.
Great.
What time?
12 to 4.
Ms. Hurd.
Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Spurgers?
Aye.
Mr. Hawks?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Ms. Mill?
Aye.
That passes 8-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is an ordinance appropriating funding for, excuse me, it's the consideration to approve a conditional use permit to allow a mobile food vendor in the O1 zone for property at 2285 Moix Boulevard. And what can you tell us, Ms. Tucker?
Yes, this is, I'm sorry, I had to bring my brain back around.
All right.
This is a request by Mr. Salter to allow a mobile food vendor. It's in an O1 zone, and so it would be a conditional use. And we have 14 conditions. This was heard at the Planning Commission with no opposition, and it passed unanimously. And Mr. Salter agreed to all 14 conditions.
I move that we approve this conditional use permit.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this conditional use permit to allow mobile food vendor use in O1 zone for property located at 2285 Moix Boulevard. Any further discussion? It's heard.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Passes 8-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is an ordinance to rezone property at 124, 130, 136 Conway Boulevard. The present zonings are S1. The requested zonings are R2A, and this was reviewed by the commission at their September 15th meeting. And Ms. Tucker, would you like to tell us about that?
Yes, sir. There were a couple of people that showed up at that meeting. A Mr. David Antonio and a John Parak. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but both of them had concerns about what the intent was on this property. Right now, we're just hearing a rezone, but if that's approved, then we'll hear a follow-up CUP that would allow up to 12 units. Now, having said that, it still has to go through site development review. I'm not sure that they can get 12 units on that site,
So,
but they are asking for up to 12 units. And the planning commission voted unanimously to approve.
Say that again.
Unanimously. I have such a hard time with that word.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So, Ann, just a question, the two individuals that you named, were they just there trying to find out what specifically was going there? Did they have concerns with the current?
The only thing that they really had a concern with is multiple stories. And we told them that we would deal with all that in
Right.
site development.
Okay,
So, one of them, wanted to know about the ingress egress, which we will, because anything over a duplex is going to trigger a commercial development. So they'll have to comply with all of our current standards.
So they were happy with what you told them? Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed to be.
And I received a message from one person concerned about parking here. That's all part of SDR, right?
Yes.
You'll review that during the site
Absolutely.
review. Just clarifying. Great.
They'll have to have fire turnarounds, everything.
I would,
That's why I think it's going to be a real stretch to get 12 on there.
Is there anybody here who wanted to speak about it today?
Bobby's here.
Figured you were. No.
I would make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance to rezone property located at 124, 130, 136 Conway Boulevard from S1 to R2A. Any further discussion? Heard.
Mel,
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter,
Yes.
Grimes,
Aye.
Yes.
Burgers.
Aye.
Hawkins,
yes,
Jones,
Yes.
Bisbee.
Yes.
And that's 74?
Ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
74. Mr. Hawkins. And the final item here, Mr. Mayor, consideration to approve a conditional use permit to allow density up to 12 units per acre in the R2 zone for properties that we just talked about, 124, 130, and 136 Conway Boulevard. And Ms. Tucker, would you want to?
I don't really have anything more to say other than understand it's up to 12 units. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get 12.
I would make a motion for the approval.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve this conditional use permit. Property located at 124, 130, 126 Conway Boulevard. Any further discussion? Ms. Hurd.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed.
Passes 8-0. Thank you, Ms. Tucker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
Mr. Mayor, there's one item that popped up at our visits on Saturday.
Okay.
That we need to address, I think probably sooner rather than later, and it has to do with the health insurance.
We've got one more item on this agenda, and then we'll come back to it. Yeah, good.
Want to make sure where it was going to be put.
Oh, yeah. Next up, we have public safety, and we have an ordinance to approve the appropriation reimbursement funds, struggling like Ann, for the Conway Police Department.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ours is simple, we just request that these reimbursement funds be returned to their respective accounts.
Make a motion for the approval of the ordinance 02575. Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance, appropriation of reimbursement funds for Conway PD. Any further discussion? Ms. Hurd.
Ms. Bisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Mel,
Aye.
Mr. Hawks,
Yes.
Mr. Grimes,
Aye.
Mr. Spurgers,
Aye.
Mr. Hawkins.
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Thank you, ma'am. Council, at this time, I'd like to suspend the rules tonight. Let's talk a little bit about employee health insurance.
Make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes 8-0. All right. Let me say a few things here, and then I'll turn it over to you guys. Very few things do we hear a lot of phone calls from all of our employees that are really happy with something. I'll be honest, since the discussion the other night, we've had a number of employees reach out to us and tell us how much they enjoy and how much they like the current insurance that we have. Like Ms. Mabry Williams said the other night, it is part of their employee package. It's part of our compensation. That being said, I'll start off with an apology to Mr. Hawkins, because I told him that we would start looking at things in July. And again, I lollygagged, I'll just say it, Mr. Hawkins, and we didn't get it started. I do believe that self-funding is the way of the future for the city of Conway and other entities nationwide with a certain amount of employees. I think this is something we're going to have to go to sooner than later. What I would like to ask the council to do is, we know that there's not going to be any increase this next year. We do not know what it's going to look like for anybody that bids. Could be less, could save us money, maybe not. But we do know that there will not be any increase for medical, dental, or eye. And that as a city, it's not going to impact our budget any more than it is. With some of the numbers we've seen in the past, I would like to stay with our current group one more year, and we will make it a point, because Shawana's sitting right there, we will start looking at insurance January 1st. But I honestly believe that the way to go in the future is self-funded. So that's my take on it. That's my 2 cents. Floor is open.
So the insurance that they have currently, particularly health, because that's the biggest thing for most people, is Health Advantage, correct?
Correct. And
Okay.
they were actually going out of business. So
Okay.
we would have crossed the self-insured this year. We would have crossed it.
Right.
But they've offered, for some reason, I don't know why, it's at a level higher than ours. They have decided to stay in business at least one more year, and I don't know what that looks like going forward. But I would like for us to stay with it one more year, just because we know where we are.
Well, and I think we have had discussions, I know, I can't even remember how many years back, at looking at the fact that at some point we were going to have to look at self-insured, because just basically what we knew was going to be coming down the forefront. From my experience with dealing with benefits with staff, particularly with Health Advantage, that is something that I know that our employees were always very satisfied with. And that's not to frown on the self-insured in any way, but I do feel like, I mean, today we're into September, so I would think that if we even looked at doing something different, we would have to open it up. And with us being close to the end of September and that being effective January 1 would be a far stretch. That's my take on it.
That's pretty much exactly where I am, because at this point we would have to put out an RFP. We'd have to give people time to respond to an RFP.
Right.
And then we would have to have time to evaluate those. And then if a change is made, we have to onboard 700, 800 something, Miss Mabry Williams. So in a short amount of time, I am of the mindset that this, again, is the way of the future. But if we were looking at an increase next year, I would feel differently, knowing that it's a known commodity and we have everything else that we have to address around compensation, et cetera. I'm right where you are.
And in talking to the county, I've had a chance to talk to them. They're very pleased with self-insured. So I'm not opposed to self-insured. I am, that we're gonna have in there. That's where we're gonna have to go.
Yes.
Because it's getting unreasonable. But
Knowing the monetary situation that we could possibly be in, I think it is incumbent on us to take a look right now at it. If we can possibly save several $100,000 to $1 million to our bottom line as a city. RFPs can be received in a 2-week period of time. They can be acted on in a 2-week period of time, which puts us at the end of October. And this is for the people that are asking about a time frame.
Right.
So 1st of November, you could be looking at doing open enrollment. As I presented the other day, the wording can be made exactly as it is right now. I understand people's wanting to stay with this coverage that they have right now because what they had the 3 or 4 years prior to that was the worst thing we've ever had. So anything was an improvement. Anything was an improvement. If this was the first time that I had seen a delay tactic pulled out of a playbook, I would be surprised, but it's not. It always comes down to the end of September and, oh, whoa, we can't do it. Yes, we can. Yes, it can be done. RFP is ready to go. I don't know why we cannot take a look at it this year, and that's my opinion. Have another one.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
Lisa, maybe you know this, or Mayor, if we, on the current contract we have with Health Advantage, if we renewed, is it mandated for a year period, or is there an early termination provision on either side?
Would you come up to the mic, Lisa, please?
I believe you can with proper notice to them. But again, if we put an RFP out, we don't have the guarantee of the rate hold.
That's not what is in the letter that you supplied to me.
That is what I was told.
I'd like to see the letter.
I've got the
Would
email,
y'all like
Mr.
to
Hawkins.
would y'all like to see the email? I'll be more than happy to show it to you.
If you would like to read it, Mr. Hawkins, go ahead.
As he
Thank you, Ms.
gets,
Moody.
as he gets ready, and maybe before you go back to your seat, on the early termination, that's a two-way street. If we make a commitment, can they terminate sometime middle of the year?
No, we're guaranteed through the whole
Through the
year.
whole year.
Because I don't know if we get in and then they.
Yeah.
We are guaranteed the whole year. And employees, if we cut them off in the middle of the year, they may have met their deductibles already. It would be bad for our employees to do that type of thing.
Sir?
And that's a good point. So you're telling me Health Advantage could not terminate early, but we could?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what Health Advantage could do, though, is come in with a mid-year rate increase, which we've seen previously.
Health Advantage, these rates are guaranteed for 12 months, all year, all through 2026.
You've had one rate increase in how many years with Health Advantage?
1 in 5 years, because
I
we've
was
had
gonna
them
say,
since 2020.
Yeah.
We got a 14%er last year that we found out about.
We did. We had a large increase
Yeah,
last year.
and that was the first increase we'd had, and we'd had one
Without
decrease in that
notification of
time.
any kind to any city council member. Arkansas Blue Cross Blue Shield has agreed to renew the City of Conway's Health Advantage medical plans with no plan changes and a rate hold overall with no changes to any premiums. Please let me know if you have questions. There is not one word in here about you can't take it. Not one word. If you have that, Ms. Mabry Williams, I'd like to see it.
I do not have that in writing. That is what they told me several times on the phone.
Thank you, Lisa. Y'all have any questions, Lisa? Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
We're responsible for the finances of the city of Conway.
You're also responsible for the people's wishes that's working for the
We
city of Conway.
absolutely are. We absolutely are. And in my presentation, we can provide exactly the same.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm not gonna get in an argument. I'm just telling
Not
you
either.
that people that's employed here want to keep the same. I don't know if they don't know the bells or whistles or whatever, but that's what they want.
Say you vote your conscience.
Vote on it.
I stand by what I originally said. I believe our employees are our primary goal. It is for me, anyway. I appreciate Mr. Hawkins wanting to save money. I appreciate that greater than anything. And again, I have taken the blame for us being at this point, this late in the season again. And I do believe that moving forward, self-funding is the way to go. However, I stand by my original statement. But this council, I'll do what you say.
Looking from a vote from us on this tonight?
No, I don't actually don't need a vote for this. But I want everybody, I'd like to know your opinion.
What will it cost us to get in?
No.
You have to have information which is extremely hard to get from this group.
I'm going to have to stand up. I'm going to have to stand up for the group on that, in that, from what I understand, everything that has been asked for, that has been turned down, is due to HIPAA. And I know absolutely nothing about HIPAA, but I know we don't want to cross that road.
I talked to the business owner today that has previously worked for a large organization that was self-insured. And her biggest concern was HIPAA compliance, because at that point, all of that employee health information is potentially available in-house, and we know that people don't take HIPAA as seriously as they should. I don't know the answer to that. I know that's a question that has to be answered for me about this.
That information is kept out of state. I can tell you.
So are we voting on it? Or are we not gonna vote on it? What's the outcome of
It
tonight?
doesn't require a vote. I can just sign it. But I need to know y'all's opinion. Are y'all good with me signing it, or do y'all want to do an RFQ?
I have just one quick question. I don't know if Lisa knows the answer to this, or maybe Mr. Hawkins does. How many potential RFPs how many people might bid on this, whether it's self-insured or another
Other
company?
company.
Or, I mean, are we talking 12 or 2 or? Sorry.
You may just
I'm
want to
just
hang out
trying-
at the batter's box up here, Ms.
I'm just
Mayor.
trying to get a sense of just the logistics of even opening it up right now. That's my.
We're going to have a lot of people. When we open it up, we would have the bigger companies, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Health Advantage, United Healthcare. Also, we'd have the smaller brokerage firms that are brokers for third-party administrators. There would be numerous RFPs.
You know what the current annual premium cost is to the city on the current Health Advantage plan?
It's,
Tyler?
Tyler
think
has
Tyler-
that. I don't have it on me right now, and I don't want to misquote.
It's in the $7 million range.
So I looked at before tonight's meeting. Our 2025 budget, and this is health and dental combined, is 5.8 million. So that's the city's cost. And then if you look at Health Advantage and then Blue Cross Blue Shield, who are the providers of the health and dental, this year we're going to pay them in total about 7.3 million. So about 1.5 million is the employee cost, 5.8 million is the city cost, for 7.3 total for
Perfect.
health and dental.
Thank you.
Lisa, just a quick question. the current coverage that we have, are there options that the employee can pick, or is it just basically one single? And I may have missed this Saturday, I'm
No,
sorry.
ma'am. There are two options. There's
Okay.
a high option and a low
Mhm.
option. We have the same thing on the
Right.
dental and the medical. They can pick a $500 deductible or a $1,500 deductible.
Okay.
The co-pays are the same. Co-insurance, total co-insurance is $3,500 on the $500 deductible. It's $4,500 per person on the higher deductible. But when you meet it for two family members, it's met for the
It's met
year.
for the year, yeah.
And everything goes to the out-of-pocket maximum. Co-pays for prescriptions, office visits, deductibles, everything, which is unusual. That's a good plan.
If the mayor is committing to sending an RFP out in January, and I think that's what she said, that we'd start the process.
You said,
You
I think
said
you said
January.
January.
Did I say
You
January?
said January.
That's understandable.
No, because yes, I wish we had started this in July. I think about, because we're changing and knowing that we're going to have to go to self-insured, I don't want to rush the process. I don't want to rush the review of it. I want us to make sure we're thoughtful. I want to make sure that our staff, and we have 2 people in HR, are ready to go, and that transition is as successful as we can make it. And I think we should start in January. I mean, because if we can cancel it mid-year, then
Again, we need to be careful about canceling it mid-year because the deductibles our employees may have met and the
that's
out-of-pocket.
You're right. See, those are all the things
Those
that I don't want.
deductibles can be picked up exactly where they're left off.
What is important is that nothing changes, absolutely nothing for our employees. This is part of their package, part of what we provide for them. That means out of network, that means durable medical equipment, their co-pays, everything's got to stay the same. That's how strongly I feel about it. So if that can be matched, great. If it can't, then it's time to move on.
Well, and I think too, health insurance is a lot of the reason that a lot of people work.
Yeah.
And like I said, just from dealing with it, it's hard for people to change when it's something that they're comfortable with, going to something that is totally unknown. So I think for me that would be a concern. But I do feel like that is going to be the way of the future because a lot of the insurance companies are pulling out. So that's my 2 cents on it.
We did this 9 years ago, 8 years ago. Way of the future. Hadn't gotten anything but bigger.
Yeah.
Write a check to an insurance company on a monthly basis and throwing money out the window is that's the definition of insanity. Definition of insanity.
Mr. Hawkins, I wonder if it feels that way to you because of your profession, because our employees see it differently.
Absolutely.
And I think we have an interesting and unique perspective because we have you that does this professionally. We have Ms. Isby, whose career was serving employees in this area. And we're hearing from our staff as well. And it's complicated. And the reality of it is the decision that this council makes, we don't have to, while the city has to write the checks, the 8 of us will do none of the work about it. We have to look at our HR department for what that's going to cost. And when I say cost, I mean cost in time. My feeling with change in business is everything is always harder than it's supposed to be. And, I think it sounds like we're all in alignment that we know this is where we're headed. with some strong desire that this had started a few months earlier, that we'd really had time to parse it out.
All I'll ask is that this is moved to mid-year, that we actually do the work. We actually do the work that needs to be done.
Or should we just?
And we
put it
get
in-
the information that we ask for.
I'm going to stand up for Miss Mabry Williams and her people. They do the job every single day for every single employee that works in this city. Lisa never takes off. She has done everything I've asked her to do on the insurance, and she has kept us out of trouble with HIPAA. So thank you, Lisa, for the job that you and your crew do. Thank you. All right. Anything else?
Workers' comp is the same situation. I've not talked about workers' comp, and I don't do workers' comp. But if we can find a way to do workers' compensation on a self-funded basis. Last year, John Maddox gave me this information. We paid out approximately less than $160,000 in claims, and we paid premiums of over $700,000. We could save $500,000 doing our
We
work
can.
comp.
John and I visited about that today.
I'm just telling you, it's.
I agree with Shelley. We need to look at this earlier in the year. We don't need to, I mean, I understand we can't get this done right now by the end of the year. That's gonna be a lot of pressure on a lot of folks. But we do need to look into this early. We don't need to wait till July. We need this to be a seamless transition where our employees are not scared, where they know, and I look forward to some of these benefits of what Andy has said, that, deductibles can be moved over. They need to know that. They can have the same policies and coverage. They need to know that.
This was a non-issue up to about 6 or 7 weeks ago because Health Advantage was shutting their doors. So this was a non-issue, and then they come back. Some of them know,
And that,
yeah.
to me, that gives me concern too. We're gonna shut our doors. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, we're not gonna shut our doors. And so that's where that termination question came into play for me. I mean, if they're shutting their doors and then all of a sudden they've got a carrot in front of us, but that carrot's contingent on us not seeking out other business, that's concerning.
Mr. Hawks, if you've got some time after the meeting, I'll be glad to tell you what that's all about.
They weren't shutting their doors. They were no longer going to offer the the Blue Cross Blue Shield Health Advantage product, which is a richer product in the standard Blue Cross Blue Shield plan.
Yeah,
But they
shutting the
decided
doors
to
was a
go
little,
ahead
little much for me.
and offer
Yeah.
it.
I'd heard somebody say that, so.
Yeah, no, they're a division of Blue Cross. So
Lisa, before you sit down, sorry. In the ideal world, for planning a transition, how soon should we start next year? I mean, is January, February too early
We
to
could-
start thinking about it?
It's not too, no,
Okay,
it's not
okay.
too, we need to have plenty of time to look at everything. We probably need to, if we're gonna change to self-insured, we probably need to look at making the change or deciding we're gonna do that by July so we can implement it for a January 1 date. Because we have 500 employees that are insured. We have 700 counting our part-time employees, but they're not eligible for health and dental benefits. Plus, we have all the retirees. So we'll have a lot of people to transition.
So say a little more specifically about your ideal timeline. If we told you we're going to do this next year, what would you want to happen when?
I'd want to have the RFP back by July 1 if they'll do it that soon. And that way we'd have 6 months to get it implemented because it's going to be a big change.
So then now we're not talking about a mid-year, now we're talking about a full year.
And is there,
Yes,
do you
sir.
see an option as for a timeline for mid-year to consider, not necessarily to commit to, but to consider?
I really don't. Because our years run January to December, and I think that would be much more seamless if we do it that way and better for our employees.
Does somebody need to make a motion, or we just gonna keep?
Well, again, I think he's looking for our opinion and doesn't need a vote from us. So I don't know that we can make a motion.
He need to know what we all gonna do. So how are you gonna do without putting a motion, gonna raise your hands or what? Some kind of
Just
clarity.
think about it. What are your thoughts?
If the mayor is just wanting the opinion of the council members, then I think the individual council members can just express that opinion if they wish. It doesn't have to be by a vote or by motion. That was the way I took what the mayor's comments were, was just to get the input before we made the decision and see what the individual council members, what their thoughts were, which I think a lot of y'all have made that clear.
I think it's been heard. I
Okay.
think it-
All right, well, with that, thank you for everyone's time. I'll take a motion to
Well,
adjourn.
one other quick thing.
Oh, yes, sir.
We won't meet again before this happens. October is Conway's 150th birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and there will be a big celebration in downtown Friday, October 3rd. There'll be events in Simon Park. There'll be events in conjunction with Art Walk that night, events at the Brick Room. Celebrate Conway's 150th birthday, Friday, October 3rd.
That'll be my birthday too, man.
That is not your birthday. I know when your birthday is.
152. 152.
I know.
150 and a half, Mike.
Well, it sounds like it's,
A lot older than you actually are.
it sounds like it's gonna be fun. I will be in Wyoming, so I hope you all have a great time. We are adjourned, council.